Check, check, check. 1 2 1 2. Vader Games in the building. You know what it is. Let me take this off screen because on camera very soon. Apologies. As soon as I'm about to go live, and again, I go live in the middle of the workday, I get a work call. So hopefully it didn't come across like I was trying to be too rushed to get off that call, but we're here. Vader Games TV episode 105. We're stacking them. Episode 105. And based off of the title, you guys are all here now, and I'm gonna shout everyone out with regards to the comments. City take legal action. City take legal action against the Prem. And specifically, what I'm going to be talking about today is with regards to APT. All right. I'm going to be talking about the associated party transaction. This whole rule thing, because that's what this is all about. Put the 115 aside. We know that battle's happening. We know that's already been established. But we're going to have the convo mainly with regards to how the league's been moving, sponsorships, and shout out to my man Khaldun. He posted the video. The video just came through on City Plus. If you haven't, obviously you can see it elsewhere. But Khaldun Part 1 spoke about the season, something that I look forward to. And I think, funny enough, rivals won't admit it, but rivals look forward to hearing what Manchester City and him and the plans are. So I'm gonna shout out everybody. And I'm gonna have a special guest today, true City fan. Please, if you haven't subscribed to his channel details are in the description. Go and find that. Subscribe, support my man. He's fighting a lot. This man's a warrior. He's fighting. And I'm gonna let him speak on what he's fighting specifically. But I'm gonna have true City fan in the mix shortly. Now, there's 17 of you in the building right now. 17 of you are in the building right now, whether you're on Twitter, X, or whether you're on YouTube. If you happen to be on YouTube, that's the easiest. If you happen to be on YouTube, go over, find the like button, hit that. If you haven't subscribed, go and subscribe to this channel. Get the notifications, know when I'm live. I do my best, and I want to make Wednesdays Why Always Be days. I want to make Wednesdays Why Always Me, and then my 115, one question, 15 minutes. I want to do my 115. Those might be randoms. So make sure you subscribe, get that notification, because when you know I'm live, I'm going to do my thing. Now, first things first, my peoples come first. My peoples are here today. They passed. Always thought of, always remembered. I think about you always. So I got to make sure I do that. Now, if you're new, this is what I'm going to be covering today's show. On top of that, let me actually bring this into the mix because I forgot to put this on screen. And let me change this to this. Let me go put that there. Because what I like to do on this show, and hopefully, the feedback's been great. The feedback's been great. Everyone's been liking how I kind of stay on track with regards to my topics. But I'm going to devote 5 minutes to it. 5 minutes, I'm going to speak on this whole Khaldun postseason interview, part 1. And if you get a chance to watch it on your own, 100%. But then I'm going to move on to the next topics. And I might be playing around with the timing a little differently because unlike past shows, it's not going to be so much of a one-on-one for myself. I've been blessed. Most recently, I had like Don Smoke, Gundalorian, True City fan, as well as Mancini Way, Martin. They've been on the show, so the 5 minutes is kind of nice. But we'll see how that all works out. Let me also shout out the very first in the building, the person that takes time. Says, you know what, Vader? I'm going to be in the comics first. I'm going to let you know that I'm supporting your show. I'm going to drop that like button. I'm going to say what it do. And today, this episode happens to be DC. Big up, Vader, my northern neighbor. Facts. I just watched Chairman Khaldun's interview. I'm always stuck by the inner workings of his mind and how he expresses himself. We're lucky to have him. 100%. We're lucky to have this type of personality, mentality, and leadership. And it exudes off the screen, right? I could only imagine what it might mean in terms of having that conversation in person, but I look forward to it. An exec. Usually all we're excited about is with regards to like what's happening on the pitch, but many of us, City fans as well as rivals, want to hear what an exec has to say, right? So we're going to get into it. The girl RK, hello Vader. What an interview, eh? And the Foden part. I love watching this chairman. True. Listen, a little glimpse of what happened behind the scenes when he's able to witness practice going into the final game of the season. And spoiler alert, gives a little advice to Foden, and what happens? Man delivers. Man delivers on it. All right, section 20 in the building as well. The interview with Khaldun was so good. The phone thing was just off the scale. Do that tomorrow, and bang, Phil does exactly that. Yeah. Go and check out the video. If you haven't watched it, even if you're watching what I'm doing right now, later on, go and check out the video. I'm not going to really do much spoilers, but I'm going to give you my take on what I felt after watching it and what I think City and how things are being positioned moving forward. So we're gonna do that. And apologies. My daughter had a track meet yesterday. I was in the sun all day. I got the worst. I have the worst uneven tan right there. Like that. That's where my that's where my shirt was yesterday. It is the worst. The worst. All right, there we go. Let's go. Let me put a star in this and let me go. Let me get into it. And actually, let me make sure I send out the link to my man, True City. All right. Make sure he's got that. All right. Now, Khaldun, every season afterwards, he sits down. And we talked about this last show, funny enough. We talked about when's the interview going to drop? When's it all coming through? Khaldun drops the interview today. Fresh. That's how fresh it is. He dropped the interview today. He spoke about, obviously he had to talk on the alleged breaches, what's happening against the league. He talked about the season overall, pursuing and being having tremendous pride in having won a 4-peat, right? In having done, and I'm going to put this on screen, having done something, and I'm going to take myself off camera as I do this, but having been able to do this, right? Manchester City are the first side in the entire, let me emphasize this, in the entire history of the English top flight to win the title in 4 consecutive seasons. That's not something to really even dismiss or ignore or even take pride in. I said this on American Waffle on StaffyTV, and he's like, Vader, you still celebrating winning the Prem? You're damn right. I'm still celebrating winning the Prem. You think just because it's now it's June 5th, it's now over. We just had it on screen. We just did something that's never been done before. I'm celebrating this for the next 2 months. This doesn't happen like on the regular. Winning a Prem, maybe some, not me, maybe some can take that for granted. Oh, we won another one. Okay, for those of you that do that, fine. Those of you that win an FA Cup, it's just another trophy, fine. But winning that 4 times in a row, I'm celebrating it. I'm celebrating it for a long time. So call me shameless, call me like small club mentality, whatever you want to kind of say. 4 in a row, I'm celebrating that. And I think every City fan should remind. We don't need to be obnoxious with it because that's not how we are. We don't need to be obnoxious with it, but we do need to celebrate it. And I'm going to celebrate this for the next 2 months. Let me start the clock. All right. So Khaldun's interview, he covers the season. He covers the alleged breaches. He covers the confidence. He talks and shares the confidence that he had that we were going to win this 4-peat way back. Arsenal fans, don't get triggered, please. Please don't get triggered. Let me actually put this on the screen.
Max, can you earmuff it for me? We are going to get so...
If you haven't seen that movie Old School, go back and check it out. Old School, I think it's fitting. I had to pull the clip. You see the platinums in. They're growing in. So I'm old school. The whole thing with regards to Arsenal fans not wanting to hear this is because the same way Rodri said there was a mentality. They were like, we're going to go get this. We're getting this league. We know that you're not up for it. We're getting this league because of how you came to our house and played us. Khaldoon said the performance, the result, because on the day he felt that had it not been for deflected late goal from Arsenal, City shouldn't have left there with a loss. He said from there he was confident that we are going to be competing for this fourth, winning this fourth. So he saw it way back then. He spoke on that. He spoke on Phil Foden and the fact that he's seen Phil from 8 years old. 8 years old. And again, we don't need to be the over the top PR media darlings like the class of 92, the academy players that have done their thing. We don't need to do all that, right? The babes. We don't need all this labeling, but we do need to take pride in our own. We do need to take pride in Phil Foden, 8 years old. You see this man coming through the academy. You see this young talent with the eyes, with the experience of a Pep saying that kid's special. And Aguero saying he's different gravy, right? When you have Khaldoon say that since 8 and he's seen the progression and he's seen where Phil can get to, and he's just getting there right now. He's not at his peak powers. He's just getting there right now. It was great to see in the interview. I'm gonna get to the comments. Apologies. And what Khaldoon also said in this interview, part 1, by the way, is that there's a lot of fight that City have to do with regards to the league in itself. Certain things that are in place that just quite aren't right. They obviously have to play out legally, right? There's no, oh, if you're innocent, then just show them everything. No, there's legal procedures, right? There's steps that you need to kind of follow. And the fact that he said, you know what, those things are being done, and he's confident in them. I'm calm. He always exudes confidence, leadership, and calmness, and nothing changes from this interview for me. I also want to say that I'm excited for this part 2. Sorry, my phone's blowing up. And I want to hear more on what he has with regards to Pep, because he touched on that just a little bit, right? He talked about in typical City and Pep fashion, that the contract that's going to be negotiated with Pep, it's going to run its course, right? Often, or just like past years, is going to be done in favor of the manager and the club, and nothing different is going to happen. So we'll see where things net out. I believe, and maybe I'm the delusional one, but I believe we without Pep, obviously we're still going to be City. We without Pep, we still had 2 Prems before Pep got here. Now he's taken it to another level, and that's why I'm saying Pep, 10 years at least. Stay at Manchester City 10 years at least. But if he were to go, it's not like we're going to be crashing and burning. Another thing is, with him to go, maybe the consistency drops off, but let's also look at what these rival clubs are doing. These rival clubs aren't looking to establish themselves as the top dogs. These rival clubs are also not looking to establish themselves to be ready to compete with Real Madrid. That's the funny thing. I'm gonna bring my man, True City fan, to the stage shortly, but there isn't anyone that's being like, "Yo, let's work ourselves and get ready to compete in Europe." No one's doing that. So if we happen to lose Pep, I think it's still nice and calm. Let me bring my man, True City fan. Shout out to my brother right now. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. Let me do this for a sec. How you been?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I've been okay, man. How have you been yourself?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. I just went over talking with the Khaldoon interview, my kind of reaction to it. How early did you watch it? Because again, I'll be honest with you. For me, it was like I watched it maybe like 7 a.m. my time, because it was the first thing that kind of popped up on my timeline. When did you happen to watch it?
No, I watched the. I think the link was sent in, the group by some. I think by Adam, and then I watched it around. I think that was around 11. Oh no,
Okay.
No, not 11. Yeah, around 11, 12. I think that's when I was watching. Around 11, 12, around that time, because I went for an appointment around 1:30. But yeah, I was watching it and I was anxious to see. First of all, I wanted to see how healthy he's looking, because last time when I saw him on the pictures, especially the videos, he looked like not healthy because he lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
looked.
yeah,
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 he was lean. He was like very
yeah.
lean in the
But
face.
today I was impressed. He looked like it's.
Mm,
I think it's just him losing weight in a good way, because he looked like he was glowing and he looks like he's in good health, which
yeah,
I'm happy about. Blue Heart, big up to you, Blue Heart. How you doing in the comments? Yeah, man, the interview had a lot of things which were unpacked, but there's three things that I found very interesting. I don't know if you've also found them interesting. Number one, it was the official from the Premier League, even though obviously the president of the Premier League did not attend the match between West Ham and City. It looks like there was still an official from there, the lady. I don't know if it's his vice, just one of the officials to present the medals.
yes, yeah,
She what impressed me is when Khaldun said he got an email, and she also spoke to him after the game saying, "You guys, you've got a very humble team, you know. From the outside, they never like, because they're winners, you think they're arrogant or they're sort of like not humble, but they're very humble at the point where they all looked at me in the eye, very thankful, bowed down, and say thank you very much to the Premier League official, who she was very impressed with. And not only says that's the thank you he got, or an email he got, another email he got was from the FA. It says the FA also official. She says they were very humble. They did not remove their medals. They wore their medals and say thank
yeah,
you. And then not only did they do, the TV did not show this, where City players, after receiving the runners-up medal, they
yeah,
went and stood down there. You're not supposed to do. Nobody has ever done. That's what the FA said. They haven't seen anyone
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
City stood there and clapped hands for the
yeah.
United, gave them a guard of honor, United
Garden,
players,
yeah,
as they were going up. And then he got another email saying, "What you guys did, we appreciate it," because a lot of people have lost respect for the FA Cup, but they did that. Shows so
yeah,
much respect. So if you hear things like that, it always warms your heart, as a City fan, and it also shows that this group of players, not only Pep has assembled a group of players that are unique and very good at what they do, but they're also very humble and they're respectable, because I have seen teams where players are very arrogant. You've heard interviews. I don't want to mention names, but you've heard interviews from masseuse people who are masseuse at the club, who were like the field people at the club. That players would just throw keys at you when they're parking their car.
mm,
Excuse me. Players would behave a certain way. Would come to the dressing room, just throw everything on the floor
yeah,
so that you look at. So I'm like, for City to find technical, brilliant players, but still they're humble. It's big up to City as the scouting department. Also big up to Pep, because those are the type of people he looks for.
yeah. I
And
think,
then the third one was the Phil Foden thing. That was just incredible. At the point where I was like, so he spoke to Foden and he told Foden, please, can you do this in the game tomorrow? We need you. And Foden, I saw the clip him saying, and it's good that they showed that, because sometimes people think, somebody's just doing this for gassing
yeah,
it up
yeah,
online. Then boom, guess what? It happened.
yeah. I love the fact that he was talking about things that kind of happened, but they were also able to, like you said, clip it up and be like, no, he's not talking BS. This is actually stuff this actually happened. The conversation was real. It wasn't to create any type of myths or fairy tale. This actually happened. And I think what he had to say was the timing of it. The timing is absolutely perfect. And I want to get into why we were all kind of wondering, when's the interview happening? When's it dropping? When is Khaldun going to do his, his annual sit down, talk to the people type thing? And 2 days ago, or should I say yesterday, City, unprecedented, right? Not done before, not seen before. Manchester City take legal action against the Prem. So he does our club do this yesterday. Khaldun drops the interview today. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. And the reason why nothing is by coincidence. Nothing's accidental. If any of you working with the company structure, if you've been privy to anything that happen marketing, PR wise, it's a set time schedule. There's a timeline. They're saying today we're doing this. This is what we're going to communicate out. Moving forward, this is what's going to be rolling out later on. They absolutely knew that legal action was going to be obviously filed, processed, done yesterday. And Khaldun was like, makes no sense for me to do an interview prior to that. It's best for me to follow and do the interview post. And I'm 100% on board with it, and I'm on board with the fight. And I want to get into just a little bit, because also, listen, everyone tune in right now. If you haven't hit that like button, please, there's 30 of you on all platforms right now. Hit that like button. If whether it's YouTube, Twitter, X, take a second, go to the platform. Also, please note, I got True City Fan, I got Patrick's channel in the description. He's doing a show later this afternoon. It's going to be 8, is it 8:30? 8 or 8:30?
Oh, it's going to be 8:30 UK time.
Okay, 8:30 UK time. That happens to be 3:30 my time over here. So I'm going to be a part of that show. We're going to have the conversation. So I'm just touching on a few things, but we're going to go in depth. We're going to really break this down. And I just want to speak on, I'm going to start the clock on this. Were you surprised? Were you like, it's about damn time? Were you like, oh, this might be a mistake when you saw that City took legal action on the Prem?
I don't know, man. As I'm conflicted, and I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to come here with chest. It's just I'm conflicted. It's just like, where does this go? Because that's the question I want to ask, and that's the reason why I got my man Gundo, because he gave us the whole spiel. So I want to ask him that, where does this go? Because I don't know how you feel yourself. Because I'm a football fan, and I love Man City, man. And people will make fun of new fans, say, oh, these are the guys who are going to jump the boat. When jump off board when this happens, but lads, it's too late. Some of us, like I'm now 36 years old. Where am I going to jump to now? Like, it's embarrassing at this point in time, at this age, for somebody to start jumping somewhere. And the fact that before Man City, I didn't really like football. I really didn't like football at all. And as I've said to many people, that's why I'm conflicted with this. I'm like, where does this go with it? Like, what if I've even told people that you also have to be thinking, what if City lose? Where does it leave City? But moreover, what if City managed to get this over the line? How does it look for the Prem? Does the Prem stand on legs anymore? Or now, because they're having a new president, does maybe it make easy that the new president to come in and say, oh, don't worry, I was about to do this anyway. You get my point. So I don't know how you, because I'm conflicted. I'm like, I want to watch football. I'd rather be looking at transfer news, but also I'm not going to be a coward and say I would allow bullying to happen, because if City feel like there's bullying happen here, or overstepping, or somebody purposely blocking things or changing rules to just suit certain people, by any right they have the right to fight. So that's my opinion on the whole thing. I'm gonna say
this. And first, let me shout out my gal Rose in the building. She's also shouting out DC. Thanks for being on the show. And everybody in the chat, I put your comments on screen while Patrick was speaking, and I appreciate everyone taking the time to comment. And I'm going to get to the comments as well as we go out. But I'm not conflicted. And the reason why I'm not is because we've been blocking the whole time. We've been trying and constantly getting punched at, jabbed at, just stone thrown at, sticks. And I like that City are finally on the offensive in terms of what we believe that's been put in place needs to change. So where things can kind of net out in terms of, oh, where do we end up from here if City happen to win? It's like, well, Prem agree that something needs to change. Prem agree with the arguments put forward that, okay, we see that point of view. We weren't willing to really look at it in that detail because it was just you mentioning it. But now with maybe other clubs backing this as well, maybe with greater detail, and now having to take the time to dissect it, okay, we get it. So many believe that when you take legal action, it's like, ooh, it's really severe, there's hatred there. But sometimes in the corporate world, that's the only time you get to sit down and talk. That's the only time.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm coming from. Like I keep saying, I'm a simple fan. Like, sometimes in life, if I'm interested in something, I will go and read on stuff. But you do know most of us just like to consume what football is. So even when it comes to this, that's why Veta, you know yourself, even in the group, you sometimes you go and read all into this thing and you bring your information. But you know, we have one man on our group who goes deeper
Yeah,
into
yeah, yeah. Oh no,
everything.
yeah.
But do you get my point? Is that's why I'm saying I'm one of those that I just want to get the information. Somebody explains it to me, but I would rather be looked at. But I get where you're coming from, because I'm the same. I'm like, what happens here? Who if somebody loses here? What are the ramifications? What happens? But maybe you're right. We might be looking at this and not know that maybe this is the only way for this to happen. You have to discuss it in court. Maybe the Prem challenged City, say, if you feel hard done by, take us to court. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm not looking at the fact that it's legal action as, oh, you're crapping where you eat, right? You often say, oh, you don't mess with where you don't mess with people that you're going to continue to try to work with. But listen, if the majority aren't listening to what I have to say, if the majority are actually putting rules in place that I kind of disagree with, I'm gonna raise my hand. I'll be like, yo, something needs to change. So I think that's where it's gone. It's gone to, and the reason why it's unprecedented is because I think many other clubs have been happy with the status quo. So it's like we don't want nothing needs to change here, and many clubs have maybe been too fearful, maybe thought inferior, maybe didn't think that they had enough to stand on to get things changed. I put this on screen earlier, and I'm gonna go to the next topic. Thanks for bearing with me. City just won, and let me put this back on screen in case people are new to the show, coming onto the channel for the first time. But let me put this on screen. City just did this, and let me take myself. City just did this. Those of you just tuning in, take a second. If you happen not to be looking at your screen and you're listening to my voice, just take a second, look at the screen. City just happened to do something that has never, when you hear about these historic clubs, the Man Uniteds, when you hear about the Liverpools, when you hear about Chelsea and Arsenal, when you hear about all of these clubs, their amazing history, not one of them have been able to win 4 in a row. Manchester City just did this, and with them doing it, I'll be the first to admit, when you do something that's never been done before, there's some added confidence. And then with that confidence is some strength. And that strength is, let's actually have the conversation, Prem. Sit down, hear us out. Yes, we've been successful. Yes, we've been able to win 4 in a row. But the rules that you're putting in place, it's really preventing the next club to be able to reach the levels that we've been able to get to. And we don't think it's right. That's where Manchester City's coming from. And that's where I want to go to the next topic. And let me actually do this so that it's nice and clean.
Vader game.
I want to talk about this in particular, and I think we might go into really, really great detail when Gundalorian is part of your show later on today. But associated party transaction, APT. So a lot of people in the media, on Twitter, on YouTube, it's going to be easy to just to say APT, 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 and no one's not going to really understand what does APT actually stand for.
Yeah, thank you. I was about to ask the same thing, that I keep seeing it and nobody has
Yeah.
explained anything. So go ahead.
They just want to throw the 3 initials out, APT, APT. So it's associated party transactions. If I'm going to break this down as simple as possible, they don't, or they want additional scrutiny when they perceive there to be a connection between a sponsor and a club. If they believe that there's relations, brother, sister, father, brother, cousins, they don't want anything that's associated from 2 parties with regards to sponsorship. They want an added lens. And what that actually meant for Newcastle now was, let me actually rewind this. Let me shout out to my man, True City Fan. Those of you that don't know True City Fan, my brother, if he happens to have his side hustle business, he's just getting it off the ground, cousin's interested. He's like, oh, you know what? I like your passion, Patrick. I see where you're going. I think you got a great opportunity there. I'm gonna help you do what you got to do. And you know what? My sister, she's got some investment dollars that she's trying to get off the ground. She wants to help you as well. They don't want that connection. They think that connection is not good business. They think that connection misrepresents what fair market value is. So there's a whole slippery slope in terms of how sponsorships are associated and who's doing who to who. And now who is to determine how much I want to spend or they want to spend to invest in your business. That's the whole scrutiny that's off the charts. And that's why Newcastle were screwed. Newcastle were screwed with a rule that they put in place in 2021. In 2021, that they were like, oh, damn, Newcastle now got Saudi owners. And now the Saudi owners have friends and cousins and friends and other businessmen that want to now put money into Newcastle. So their opportunity, their revenue can now skyrocket. And now they're going to be challenging the Uniteds, the Arsenals, the Liverpools with buying the best talent. We gotta calm this down. We need to shut this down.
Yeah, can I ask something though? So okay, so I get that. I get what they're trying to say, but it's like I know there's certain people who are going to be like all business wise and explain in a certain way, oh, this is not allowed because of this. But what I'm trying to say is, okay, so what about these other clubs that have got American sponsors? These guys, surely they're billionaires. They golf at the same golf place. They talk like even AIG I just read somewhere. Some Newcastle guy wrote it, and Terry answered saying, "No, that's why this was stopped." So even the Man United fans went against it, and Newcastle fans said, "But United owners went to AIG, borrowed money. They borrowed money from there and bought you guys, and then took that AIG and put it on the shirt." You know what I mean? Then Terry was like, but this was, he shut it down, saying, "Oh, this is old, it's gone." But those are the things I think why the city is looking like. So you guys were doing this, and that's why Newcastle fans are also fuming, because Saudi has got their own businesses there. So you're trying to tell me just because somebody is from Saudi, they can't invest in it. I think it's silly. The best thing they could have said is this. This is for me, my personal idea. Okay, better. You're Patrick's friend and you want to invest in Patrick's business. We will give you a cap. You can invest, but there has to be a cap. We can agree maybe to reach halfway. But this thing way of saying, no, completely, you're from Saudi, go away. That's funny because majority of the Premier League teams before recently, because Wolves, I think it's not owned by American. One guy is from Asia, Taiwan or something. Wolves is also owned by a few, one from India, something like that. It's only recent where some of the clubs have been owned by somebody, not from America. But back in the days, it was America. And guess what was on the shirts? American companies.
Yeah.
So only now they have seen that these Arab companies can pump good money in this. It's like, oh, we got to stop this. But the funny thing is, they stopped in 2021 when Saudi was taking over. It just shows suspect. I don't know why other fans don't see this. Other fans, I think the only issue with other fans is they have the agenda against City. Yeah. I think if this was not City, I bet you if it was not City speaking, if this was United speaking or Liverpool speaking, they would not see an issue. I think it's the fact that it's City that pushed him back. But it's, as I said, it's quite funny that even this article that came out on Twitter saying the Standard Chartered sponsor for Liverpool is being accused for funding terrorism over and over again, but it was signed off by the Prem.
Yeah.
But Newcastle are struggling to, apparently every sponsor they bring is been, they're finding a small
they're finding a reason why it needs to be cut down. And as you point out, the examples with regards to Newcastle and some of the sponsorship that keep being brought forward and they're getting kiboshed, they're getting axed, right? That actually falls into the damages with regards to the legal actions that City are taking to the Prem, because they're also arguing you having put these rules in place like after the fact, and how you're now evaluating things, and now you stop some of these sponsorship that we've in how's it described in fair nature when it negotiated, you've now cut these off, and these are the damages that we now have because there were dollars that we were going to account for to actually run the season or run the club. So these are damages that had us to have to make different maneuvers.
Can
So
I ask
those
you
are the
something?
damages, yeah.
Can I ask you something? Sorry for cutting. Someone said Wolfsburg was sponsored by VW as well as owned by them. Let me also ask another question to you, Veta. Doesn't Red Bull own RB Leipzig and sponsor RB Leipzig? Is it only in England this is happening? Other countries it's been allowed because Red Bull, right, owns RB Leipzig. That's what it's RB, I think so, isn't it?
Yeah,
but they own them and then they're on the sponsorship Red Bull. So basically, I don't get it. What's going like? I don't like.
I'm not exactly sure on how they differentiate, but here's when they talk about parent companies, right? And they want to talk about subsections. And when you were talking about the example earlier with regards to what happens in the US, so because so many things are happening with regards to parent companies or stocks, right? This is how it's so messed up with regards to business is done differently on that side of the world does not mean that what's being done is from a shady in nature, right? So there's only so many families. I'm not going to go this conspiracy route, but there's only so many families when you follow the money trail where most things end up. When you look at Hollywood, when you look at the biggest companies, Ford, GM, Coca-Cola, all of it, right? But are you going to argue that because of where the final dollars or the majority kind of like owners or families are, that that's all associated? Those are all intertwined? No. But that's what they're trying to argue when it comes down to our ownership, when it comes down to Saudi ownership with Newcastle. So I think it's going to be a very hilarious conversation moving forward because I know not everyone's going to be into the details. And I'll be honest with you, even with regards to the summary that the Times, because that was a long piece, I've only read it 1.5 times yet. And for me, I'm going to read it again just to comprehend every aspect of it. But also the legal document that City submitted to the Prem, it's 165 pages of legalese. That's legal language. That's not something that everyone's just going to consume like that.
So basically, okay, so this is the thing, because I just read it where it says City are coming from a point that apparently, according to UK sportsmanship rules or sports rules, what Prem are doing is against those rules. You get my point?
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people like Red Devils like taking on the PO is a dangerous game. It is a dangerous game. That's why I think as City fans and people were like, even other fans are saying for City to say we will take you to court with this, it means they're not silly. I'm pretty sure I'm not taking.
Shout out to Red Devil Studios. Shout out to Red Devil Studios.
But I'm not taking somebody to court just like that, based on a certain rule. If I don't know that this rule maybe is being bent, isn't it? Because I think the accusation is they're bending something to make sure that certain things are stopped, which is true. Because look, the Premier League might have its own rules, but I think there's for the capability that you can challenge them. They also have the rules that you can challenge us if you see you're being treated unfairly. I think everybody can challenge anybody, even at work. You can sign a contract, but if they put something in that contract that was dodgy, that maybe was fact that it was bent to just suit the company, I have seen people still go to court and say, I signed that contract, but this is section number 5 that was done purposely, maybe to avoid people from taking extra holidays or being paid the holiday pay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is rules in the world. There might be rules in the Prem, but there's also sports rules in UK, by the way, and sports rules in Europe. So I'm just saying, a lot of people are looking at it that, oh yeah, you signed on to the PL, it means it's all done and dusted. I don't know, right? I get what you're saying, but I just feel like City wouldn't be willing to go to war if they don't see there's a use. And Veta says there's 165 or 64 legal statement, like statements that City are willing to drop down to the Premier League. So it's gonna be very interesting. I'm very interested to see what goes on. Very interested.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let me also point this out real quick. When the rules have been set up, and because I'm hearing this from a lot of non-City fans when they're, oh, well, City signed up for these rules. City got on board for these rules. Okay. When you were mentioning earlier with regards to how money kind of came in, how money was used, they realized that from a sponsorship standpoint, pumping in money leads to success. So they wanted to kind of control that as best as possible. FFP FFP is a completely different conversation than what's happening right now. What's happening right now is sponsorship and what it can mean for a club that's in pursuit of trying to be amongst the other successful clubs, in pursuit of trying to maybe raise their level, in pursuit of getting more quality. When you're trying to say that a rule is going to be put in place to then micro-analyze true market value, in all honesty to you, you can't determine that. You can't determine true market value because if you actually, let me point this out. If a company says, I see the potential with a Manchester City, I understand that their ticket sales, I understand that their stadium attendance, I understand that their viewership is not at the level of a Manchester United. However, I do want to get in now. I do want this sponsorship for the next 2, 3, maybe 5 years. I want to get locked in now because I perceive that value to increase. If I say I want to pay for the shirt sponsor and I want to match the amount that's paid that the sponsor for United is, how are you to tell me that that's not worthy? That's not market value. That's not approved.
Yeah, this is
So
the thing.
that's the thing that's messed up. So
And it's 2021, and what pisses me off is they brought it in 2021. So basically, you guys left this and checked until you saw that more. And you know what's funny thing is, do you know what? I want you to research this back. This whole thing I'm saying now, a lot of Premier League clubs are not owned by Americans, and the Americans sold. They sold out, or they went down in relegation. They took the teams down and sold them away. You will find since those 2020 after lockdown, there's a lot of Indian, it's the Arab side, Eastern side of investors in teams. Even the Wolves one, I was amazed. I was like, Wolves is not owned by America. So there's a lot of them in the Prem. So I think they were looking at it and saying, well, look at the sponsor. Even look at the Wolves sponsorship. There was a point in time it was just like Chinese. You couldn't read what it is.
Yeah.
Just like, so I'm just saying, I think they're scared that even in other countries, the sponsors are there and are willing to give as much money because the sponsors know it's advertisement. The same way as that alcohol from the one we get the sponsor from. I don't know where it's from. The alcohol. Where is it from again? I don't know if it's from Japan.
I think it's Japanese. The dry. The dry.
Yeah, I bet you that company is willing, has got investors in Japan and is willing to invest. And then people say being silly, oh, it doesn't have a website. Guys, that beer is in Irish pubs ever since 5 years ago. I've seen it in Irish pubs. So you're telling me that what we were drinking is water in those pubs? People are just crazy. So I think it's just that they're trying to limit because they do know that if they let maybe some of these sponsors from other, like I think everybody wants to be part of the PL, Veta. You know this. They do. Yeah. Most of these companies in India, but people were blind. We just think, oh, just because Sharp that sponsored United, a popular label. That's all we know. If you go to China, the amount of electrical companies that are there. If you go to India, countries have got their own phones. Like somebody told me, my friend is from South Korea. He told me that there are phones that they will make and send to Africa and other countries. Then there are phones that are just in South Korea. They want to work in South Korea, and these are top-notch phones. And there's companies there that you haven't seen anywhere else because they are not allowed to go to America. This is what I made an example of Huawei. Remember, Huawei was taking over.
Yeah.
What did America do? And they made sure they get them off Google. And now, guess what happened? So I'm saying those are the sponsors that have been can come. Huawei could have sponsored a football team. They were becoming that big. So I'm just saying it's dodgy, man. Not to allow investors from look in Africa. There's also phone companies that have got billionaires that can be willing to African billionaires own them that can be willing to sponsor. But I think they're trying to say, oh, if you are not this, but I bet you 100%. Somebody said this: if Newcastle was bought by an American owner and it was Apple or one of these famous American labels,
it'd be a
they think it would have
non-problem.
been easy peasy. They could have been like, it's fine, it's fine.
It would have been a non-problem. Even if it came down to the case where you have, and I should do my homework to actually know exactly, but there's the parent company to Gatorade. I don't know if it's Coca-Cola or Pepsi, but there's the parent company, right? So when you can have all the subsidiaries in terms of choosing to sponsor, that can be looked at as, is it colluding? Because it ultimately falls under the one umbrella in terms of the overall company. I don't think so. I think what they need to do is step away, let the sponsorships happen, let these quote unquote market value be determined. They don't even need to be determined or policed, because there's checks and balances to be able to be a sponsor to begin with. There's due diligence that the clubs have to do themselves to make sure that the money will be there for the 2, 3, 4 year contract that's put in place. So
who's losing? Isn't it the sponsors if they invest?
no, that's the thing. It's so much nonsense. But I'm also gonna say, because I should move on to the next topic, is that when some rivals want to say, well, City, this is admission of guilt that you want to change the rules because you were able to be successful with these rules in place, but you want to change them anyways. Listen, no, please take a step back. Please understand that you can be successful while following the rules, but know that you have to fight through these stupid, messed up rules. I don't want to go PC. When I say police PC, I don't want to go political. I don't want to talk all that stuff. But we've, in our lifetime, I don't care what shade of skin you are, what background you happen to have, man or male or female, you can know when some things are in place that are wrong. And even though you power through it, you fight through it, you still see them wrong and you want to change it. This APT rule from Manchester City, they look at it and they're like, no, this is wrong. Newcastle, you guys know this is wrong. Okay, you don't want the fight to be coming from Manchester City. You think it's shady. But the rule in itself is wrong. And the clubs that are established, you can understand why they don't care for this rule to change. The clubs like a Liverpool, like a United, like an Arsenal, why would they care for this rule to change? They've already been established. They want this rule to stay in place because they know they can see where the competition is coming from. They want to know that they can prevent. They don't want another City. That's why they're so heavy on Newcastle. In particular, I think this league is better if you have a Newcastle able to compete, able to raise the level of a City. If a Newcastle is now shopping in the same grocery store as us, going after the same talent, everybody has to get better. And also, on a shout out to Flawless last night when I was on his show, SarcasmTV. Then we got another potential body beast to take a notch off Real Madrid. So I'm thinking big picture. I'm thinking landscape. I'm thinking everybody being able to compete, not the hoard and hog everything to ourselves.
Can I ask something though?
Yeah,
Can I just ask something before you move on? If Liverpool, United, and Arsenal say that big and they can attract better sponsors, obviously right now they have got the sponsors always offer them more, and obviously they're benefiting from all this. But if this is allowed, but then doesn't Liverpool also have an advantage because they're big, so they will get bigger sponsors and they can be valued higher now, isn't it?
Yeah, but
what I'm trying to say is why like if you are that big, you're receiving this. I think the other thing is this also. It's just the fact that I think the owners from these clubs are scared to be exposed, Veta. I think they know that if the other guys step up, then the club supporters will start asking, but I thought you're big, mighty Liverpool. Why are you not competing? Why are you not competing with Luton Town? Why is Luton Town buying Haaland and you guys are buying Andy Cow? You know what I mean? I think they're scared that they'll start being exposed, that some of the money they keep taking. You know how there's rumors that these American owners are hiding money sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe they're scared that, okay, Newcastle steps up, our fans will demand more. Now we will not have enough bread to because this is our politics. Because I've seen business before. Because the more your competition starts doing good, your people start asking, like, why are we not? We are bigger than them. Why are they wearing better uniforms than us? You know what I mean? Why are they looking better than us? So I think maybe that's one of the things they're scared about, that they'll start being asked for more, and then they'll be like, we don't have enough bread to take at the end of the day. It's quite funny because why are you scared of competition if you're that big? Because most of these clubs have been preaching for years that it doesn't matter what City do, it doesn't matter what anybody do, you will never take down United. United will always be big. Liverpool will always be big. Arsenal will be big. So why are you scared now when others want to get a sponsor? I don't get it.
But this is the thing. This is why they're hypocrites. This is absolutely why they're hypocrites. When you hear any rival want to talk about you can't compete with the United, you can't compete with the Liverpool or Arsenal, their history is too long. It's a damn lie. Their history, yes, their history's long. They were winning back in the day, and they've been consistent. Obviously, we've seen the fall off that United have had. We've seen the fall off, and now the resurgence that Arsenal have, and we see what Liverpool have been able to kind of flirt and do recently with regards to the Prem. But it all does boil down to you got to be smart with your club, how you run your club, and then obviously you got to spend to compete. And maybe spending to compete doesn't happen year after year after year, but it's got to be within flows. The thing that I think that gets exposed is all of these owners, and if we want to go early days, early 2000s, claiming to be poor, claiming to only be able to spend so much. I think a lot gets exposed to, like, you know what? No, there was a choice on how much was going to be kept for profit and how much was going to be available for the club to run. That's the stuff that gets exposed, because once you get one owner that says, you know what, I don't want any of the profits. I want this club to be successful. What you make is what you spend. And not even a mil, not even two, not even five, not even 10. Not any of that mil do I want for myself. So what that means is that extra mil, 5, 10, 15, 20 that's kept goes into the club and now gives you an advantage to compete further. Whereas an owner is taking that 20 million and then hampering you. So then creating that level playing field where you have an ascending club that's choosing to spend everything to win, and a club that's now matching an ascending club because they're holding on to profits. A lot of this stuff's going to get exposed, and I think that's why I'm actually really happy that at a different level, legal action is being taken. We're going to see where the whole 115 at another time and day happens for that conversation. I want to shout out some of the comments that came up. Blue Heart goes, I would like to ask a question. If United are that big and wealthy, then why are they carrying debt? I understand tax benefits, but isn't that cheating too? So again, this is where it's all amazing stuff, because within the rules, Blue Heart, you know this, within the rules, financial rules, it's not cheating. In the etiquette, in the I guess it falls down to like personal morality with regards to what you should be spending within the club. One can see that as being wrong, but within the rules themselves, no. And on top of that, all these red cartels, all of these established clubs, they know what these sponsorship dollars do in terms of competing. So they don't want additional competition. They don't want this sponsorship to be able to be as free flowing as it kind of has been, because they know that competition raises the level. And these historic great clubs that will always be will always be sought after of interest, go 10 years like United have been. Go 20-year plus like Arsenal have been not winning the Prem. See what that means in terms of another club filling that gap, another club gaining a fan base, another club getting the eyes, getting the ears, getting the sponsorship, getting the interest. That's what everyone doesn't get. Yeah, you can always be a big club, but you're going to get more in the mix. There was a time when no one thought Leeds would fall off. There was a time when Newcastle, there was a time when Everton were that club.
They were, yeah.
So there's no guarantees on this, but there are more assurances if you're able to spend, and they don't want anyone able to kind of compete and spend. Let me do a quick transition and get these comments. Vader game. Now, respect Blue Heart with that comment. Section goes, the cartel got too comfortable in the position they had When City upset the apple cart, they had to find a way of trying to keep the status quo. That's a huge point. And that when we get into, we even want to talk about FFP, and it's funny enough, we've talked about FFP even since like 2013 and what it meant. People still don't get it. People think they still want to think it was to protect clubs from messing up. What did FFP do with regards to what's happened to Forest or what's happened to Everton? Right? What did FFP prevent any of this stuff? No, rules are still being broken or maybe pushed, but FFP was to make sure that there was not going to be anyone following in the footsteps of a Chelsea and Manchester City, and it did its job. It did its job because it stopped any aspiring owner, billionaire, to say, you know what, I want a chance at bringing up an English club. But once they put all those restrictions in, now you're going to tell me I got to wait 15 years, and I got to do things with regards to what my revenue is, what I can spend, when I know all of your clubs back in the day were able to be successful because there was no FFP in its place, and Arsenal were able to inject the money in the 1930s. Liverpool were able to inject the money when they were doing their thing. Obviously, United were able to inject their money with how their ownership happened and what they did early Prem time. We get it. Money, success, and they want to cut off the money and make sure that no one can be successful like that. Blue Heart, United have the revenue. Why not clear the debt and do things right? That's a great question. Great question. United fans aren't asking that anymore. They got Ineos, they got their soother in their mouth, they got the warm blankie, and they're just looking for good football. They don't care about the Glazers anymore. They're nice and calm. Rose, my gal, says, Vader, they must be exposed for their evil deeds. I want it all out. I want it all out. I want details on the Prem. I want details on other clubs and the mistakes that they may have made. Listen, let's not be naive and think that the only club that has made an error happens to be Manchester City. And when I talk about error and you want to say guilt, every club's guilty. Every club. Blue Heart, I like section. God bless status quo. Let me see what else. He goes, but Blue Heart claim they are the world's biggest earners. Why do they need to get tax benefits? Hey, you know what? Shout out to my man Joe, Finance Joe on Twitter X, United fan. I need to get you on. Nice calm show. Just talk. No attacks. We need to link up and have the conversation, because I think there's obviously benefits with what United have been doing. I'm curious to what the drawbacks would be if they were to clear the debt, like Blue Heart just mentioned. It's like Real Madrid getting government handouts, and because of the size of that club, what about the clubs trying to get to their level? Don't get me started on Real Madrid, Blue Heart. Don't get me started on that. But yeah, it's like, listen, everybody knew how they got to their level of success, but they're going to make sure that how they got there doesn't happen by another club. That's it. Arsenal fans forgot George Graham took so many section another time. Now, we already kind of spoke on this, so I'm going to have the clock run, but it's a bad rule. It is a bad rule. Newcastle, their new ownership, the excitement for what the fan base has, and shout out, I got to link up with Toon, Newcastle fan. This is a bad rule, and it's a bad rule for them. There's no doubt that the success of what Newcastle had, and just this past year we're playing in Champions League, had they not been prevented from actually strengthening, they're now in a case where they got to sell players based off of FFP or profit and sustainability rules, that they have to sell players. I mean, I know they got to sell player. It looks like we're going to look and get Bruno, but they got to sell players to be able to run on the level, and that's absolutely disgusting. There's no reason for that other than these rules being faulty and needing to be corrected. I think it's going to be a very dramatic season, though. overall, because when we think about the clubs that all want to establish to be top 4, there's only so many spots. And there's so many clubs that can actually, quote unquote, financially compete. So some of the clubs like a United, like a Chelsea, that expect or demand and say that we are so and so, we should be top 4. It's not that way anymore, man. It's not that way anymore. There's no we should be top 4. When you have Newcastle that can compete, when you got Chelsea, if they fix things up, you got Aston Villa that were able to do their thing. You got Spurs that actually, again, consistently been.
Oh, now also Villa have to sell a big asset to do the FFP thing. So this is the thing I didn't want to forget, because that's why they're selling Douglas Luiz, because obviously they've picked between Douglas, seeing him as a high investment that they might get 60 out of him.
Yeah.
But that's them losing a guy who helped them get to the Champions League. Now they're going to the Champions League without Douglas Luiz. Do you get my point? That's what I'm saying. It's just
crazy.
Unfair. It's just the fact that people can't keep anybody at all. So you can't. So look at that. If Newcastle get rid of Bruno Guimaraes and then Douglas Luiz goes to Italy, as I said, is going to Juve, or one of these top clubs decides to take him, what's happened is like, look, even for us taking Bruno, as much as we might need Bruno, I still think it's unfair, because at the end of the day, we're just going to weaken Newcastle. Newcastle will go down again. And it stays with the same guys again. We have Bruno, maybe Arsenal get Douglas, so United get Douglas. It's as if we take the key of the. We always go and get that bolus. So what's the point?
Because again, who can afford to go and get that talent? And then so the stronger continue to strengthen because they pull the talent from the ones that are threatening, and the ones that are threatening got to drop their levels again. So again, and I'm saying this as a Manchester City fan, I want the rule to change. The fact that, yes, I can benefit from pulling the talent from a Newcastle, from an Aston Villa, I don't think it's right. I don't think the rule needs to stay there, and that's the fight. That's Manchester City taking legal action and saying, listen, a few of these things in place need to change. No one else seems to want to bring it up. I happen to be four-time repeat winners. I think I got the clout. I think people will actually listen. I think what I happen to say now will get retweeted, will get engagement, will get a conversation. We're gonna have this conversation. So I like what Manchester City are doing. I don't think it then puts a stain on the league, because there's been faults within the league before, and it's like, fix it and move on. So I like what's happening, and I'm gonna link up, and maybe we should collab as well, Patrick, is to be able to get one or two Newcastle fans and hear how they're maybe looking at things, or how they kind of feel about the Prem and how the Prem's been moving.
Yeah, I'll link you up. I think I know a few. I'll link you up to a few.
Yeah, because I think that conversation needs to happen. And then I wanna point this out, because I'm definitely wrapping up the show in 6 minutes. I'm gonna be respectful of 115. So the thing that I wanted to point out is the legal actions on this bad rule that Manchester City are taking place. It's 165 pages. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I've read the legal submitted document. I have not. But that is the level of detail that I'm going to need to have. And when True City Fan does his show, and the fact that we have the guy, anyone that gets, it's not even lost in the weeds or lost in the forest. If anyone that knows how to navigate through a dense forest or the weeds of legal and financial,
Bibles of documents.
Yes,
he's the one.
Bible stacks of documents. It's Gundalorian. So that conversation and that show is going to be epic. So make sure you tune in to True City Fan and Pitch Points to be a part of that. But it's 165 pages, and it's going to be properly detailed. And I think it's a fight worth taking. I also want to point out that if we happen to have this play out in the public, because apparently it's supposed to be private, right? This is supposed to be dealt privately over 2 weeks.
Wait, so this was a private thing, and somebody has leaked it, as always?
No, I think the fact that it was submitted, that becomes private, but how the dispute is going to be How the hearing is going to happen? Yeah, so the dispute, which has become a battle between the most powerful clubs, because obviously the people have taken sides, it will be settled over the next 2 weeks. And it's a private arbitration that's going to be happening on Monday. So next week, Monday, for the next 2 weeks, this arbitration privately is going to take place. If anything leaks publicly, obviously we're all going to be running with it and speaking on it. But this is going to be wrapped up pretty quickly. So when we think of the next 2 weeks, when we think of Euros, this is we'll know where things stand. Whether the league is like, hey, things need to be tweaked, amended, right? Maybe not kiboshed rule, but maybe amended, adjusted, which is very standard. Any of you with all your constitutions, some of your established laws from the 1800s have been amended, have been adjusted because we've realized that some things need to change. So this rule with regards to APT may have to get tweaked, adjusted, and that's the argument that City are trying to make. So let's all kind of calm down a little bit. But yeah, that's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. So I'm really excited for that. Let me. Why can I pull this up? Okay. Now, let me reset that. Let me do this. Vader game. There's a portion of the document that says City believe that there's been discrimination with regards to some of the decision making. Let me try and find that portion. I'm going to be honest with you. I know how Newcastle have been talked about publicly. Like, I'm just going to use, because obviously everything's done in public opinion, right? People are guilty in the court of, not even in the court of law, but amongst the people. So the way some have talked about Abu Dhabi, some have talked about Saudi, some even how they were talking about the Qataris when that they were rumored, and that's another thing, True City fan. Qatari ownership are still out there. You know, what was Sheikh Jassim? He is still out there. He wanted United, it didn't happen.
So he might be maybe he might even be looking at another club, but he's like, what am I going to do if they don't allow me to invest?
So, and this is it. Like, there's still someone that had ambition to want to own an English club. Yes, maybe his first dream was United, apparently, but he was in the mix to getting Liverpool as well. However, the fan base of Liverpool did not want that. But there is a billions owner or potential owner out there that wants in. So these rules in terms of how he would probably want to have people that he know, people that he trusts to continue to sponsor or invest with his acquisition of a club. These rules are not right. So we're fighting that fight, but I'm gonna find the discrimination part, because how was it detailed? And I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're listening and you're not watching, I am a person of color. When I hear discrimination, it's not uncommon for me to be like, okay, let me hear this out. Let me see where this is coming from. Let me look to see for the inconsistencies, right? And I'm not going to be lazy as to say that this is to argue that those within the Prem, those decision makers, are racist. No, that's a terrible use of the language. There's no implication to say that people or a person was racist with regards to how they were managing the Prem. However, you can point out that they were being inconsistent, and they were maybe being more favorable to another one, or they were maybe maybe putting a couple too many extra checks and balances. You have to go through a few more extra hoops to have to prove yourself, or to be able to have things run smoothly. And I think that's where it's very interesting to see if, again, this whole discrimination thing is just to point out, well, why are things, for one, why are sponsorships or why are submissions for sponsorships easy to flow or consistent this way, but there's irregularities. There's things that have to be tweaked, or why are there extra steps with this? That's where I think they have grounds to be like, we want clarity on this. We want clarity on why it's different, on why it's inconsistent, on why we believe that there's discrimination because this submission seems to be fine coming from this area or this type of ownership or this type of business, and this has additional scrutiny. So I'm actually very calm with it. And if you want to say maybe it's because of my background, so be it. But I think anyone that's maybe traveled around the sun so many times and kind of seen certain things, you can understand where discrimination can easily happen and not knowingly happen. So I'm excited to see where this plays out. Hopefully a portion of it does end up being public so that we can be in the know. And I don't know for you, True City fan, but I'm going to continue to educate myself. That's why I'm going to be tuned in. I'm going to be part of your show later on today because I still want to be able to combat some of the nonsense I hear from rivals on how they speak on this. But yeah, let me bring up a couple of these comments. Civil Wonder goes, this is cognitive dissonance. Hey, some things happen to be okay over here, but they're not right over there. I hear you. It is going to be a fight. My behaviors are all aligned with my values and beliefs. Civil Wonder. So let me. Where else is Silver Wonder? I don't think he's addressing you, Blue Heart, but I could be wrong. Silver Wonder, elaborate. Show us where the cognitive dissonance is. You'd have to explain this because I thought he was speaking in the sense of others, not necessarily directing it at City, but I could be wrong. Yeah, give some clarity on that, Civil Wonder. True City fan, we went past the 115. I know I appreciated how you were able to speak today and be able to be a part of the show. There's obviously a lot more to learn. We talked about Khaldoon, his interview, amazing. We talked about some of the things that led into the whole, honestly, the way Manchester City was trending in so many different facets yesterday. Can they really say no one cares about City? Is that still a thing? That can't be.
They can't, and it's becoming silly. And I told somebody, I think I told somebody, I was like, like you do banter and you go back and forth. I just told somebody, I was like, rest, man. Let's just leave it now. Like we're grown folk now. I've known you for 4 seasons now. I've known you for 4 seasons. Let this go now. Where I think they wanted to make a stadium comment. They're like, look at this thing. The City Stadium wouldn't feel this. I was like, just leave it. Like, this is the thing, man. Certain YouTubers want certain people saying, you keep saying we don't care about City, let them win. There'll come a day. Like, that's why I put out that meme. I was laughing at that picture where somebody's feeding a lion and then the lion grows and eats them. It made me laugh. Like, it made so much sense. It's like these rivals have been feeding City and they've been telling each other, like, oh, Liverpool, I don't want you to win the Premier League. Give it to City. Nobody cares about City. And the more you do that, look at Chelsea now. If we won another UCL, we were going to be on par with Chelsea. And it was just that we didn't win this one, but it's just one more UCL. It's in par with Chelsea. One more UCL, we're 2 above Arsenal. Arsenal have no UCL. No disrespect to Arsenal. And then for me to hear that we're 3 away from Arsenal, 3 away, I think, on Premier Leagues or something away from Arsenal, I was like, oh my God, we are close to Arsenal like that. Obviously, Arsenal stockpiled FA Cups, so that's the flex. They stockpiled FA Cups, but for me to hear, there's 3 away, and then for me to hear we're above Chelsea, like even Terry has said it that multiple times, you guys be careful what you wish for. You keep saying these guys don't matter, but they're breaking these records. This is the thing. Let me say this to all the football fans who keep saying nobody cares about City. If you're ever found guilty with these alleged things, you will be completely removed from existence. Nobody will care. This is the funny thing. Whether you like it or not, somewhere in the history books, it will still say Centurions. Somewhere in the history books, it'll say Formidables, like they won the 4 domestic trophies. Somewhere in history, when they're showing Sky Sports again, that even if City is in League One, I'll be sitting there drinking my coffee with grey hair. We're in League One, but guess what? When they come on Sky Sports, when they say treble or 4 in a row, they'll be like, the only team that has done it is Man City. Nobody's going to erase that. It will still be written. It doesn't matter that this, and it's, I don't want to make this example. I'm not going to say names because I don't want to mention the names of these people.
Yeah.
I'll mention one because everybody keeps throwing that at me, even on my YouTube channel. I'm strong. Oh, look at Armstrong. But people are still talking about Armstrong. I'm not trying to say we've done what Armstrong did, but I'm just trying to give you an example that in history, if somebody achieves something, somebody even say it on Wikipedia, you Google, they'll be like, who holds the records for this? Oh, it's my man. This. They'll just say it's City. They'll not talk about these issues that happen. They'll just say City won the 4 in a row. And but people think, these are agendas, they are personal agendas. I had these agendas against Man United. Does it matter? It never says Patrick hated United, hated the fact that his family used to rub United in everybody's face at barbecues and everything. Nobody cares. It's just they say United is the greatest English team. They won 13. Ferguson is the best. They don't say that Ferguson used to abuse some of his players. You know what I mean? Like those stories have come out now. That he was very controlling. Nobody cares. They just call him a great man. I'm just trying. What I'm trying to tell people is, stop these stupid City narratives, because I know you're like, you don't care about City, but guess what? Today I woke up in bed, and when I went to my Twitter, everything was Man City, Man City, Man City, 115, Man City this, Man City that. So where are these people who don't care? Why are we trending? It's just quite funny. I think people just have to grow up and let it go. And even this small attempt this season where people were even big accounts, which is embarrassing now. I know they do it for clout, obviously, because now Man City is structured to your account. That's the funny thing. Man City is structured to people's account. Even Paddy Power does it because people go to their account. Where they were taking pictures when the Man City, when it was raining, people were in shops or people hadn't gone to the parade yet. People went there, rifle fans, with video cameras, video the empty street, and you could see things are being set up. You went there at 9 a.m. where things have been set up and sent those pictures on Twitter saying, oh, look at that, it's empty. Like, if you don't care, why do you take all that time, Veta? Go there at 9 a.m. Take time of your life and go do videos.
But this is the caring stuff. When it's said, it's immediately ignored. When it's said, it's rent free. For me, moving forward, and I said this the other night, no disrespect. If you're spamming 115, I know your level of maturity. If you're taking pics to try to make it seem like the stands aren't full, and you know that you're taking it while people are still getting to their seats before it's in the heat of the game, I know your level of maturity. If you're also trying to say that City have no fans, if you're trying to say that City have no history, I know your level of maturity. These things aren't triggering me anymore. If you happen to be on all these other channels, listen, rivals, I'm not going to call you kids, but you're moving like kids. You're childlike. If you're in the channels and you hear a North American accent, you look at a City fan and you're like, oh, became a City fan after 2013. If you want to talk about,
as soon as they see color, a person of color on the panel,
as soon as you don't hear
as
soon as you don't hear a Manc accent, you're like, oh, where is this person coming from? I know your level of maturity. None of this stuff triggers. None of this stuff is going to have any effect on me. But if you're spamming 115, if you're doing all of that, I know I got you. I know Manchester City. I know you're shook. I know it's a problem. I know the claims that City don't matter do matter, because you wouldn't have taken any moment of your time, your life, to do any of that. Patrick, you brought this up. People are going to the parade at the time to make sure that they can frame a narrative.
Yeah,
we got you. We know that City matter, because why are you taking the time to actually do that? Everybody knows you can watch the parade. The parade is going to be televised. We'll see how many people are there. No one's gonna. I don't care how large your following is. Someone that's actually interested in truly knowing, they'll know. People that are there to troll, they'll accept. They'll give you the likes. They'll give you the retweets. We know what it is. Let me shout out, and please, in the description, I have True City Fan, his channel. I have Pitch Points. Go. Make sure, click on it right now. See, he's got a video pending. Click the notify me so you know when he's live. I'm going to be a part of that show, and we're going to have a great conversation. I want to shout out everybody today. If you did not enjoy this show, drop a comment. Let me know how I can adjust things. I'm a humble man. I have no problem with improving myself, right? If you happen to like the content, I hope you hit that like button. I hope you subscribe so you can catch the next one. In the future, I'm going to start my shows. I'm going to start my shows on YouTube and Twitter X, but there's going to be a portion of it, and I'm flirting around with how I'm going to structure this, but there's going to be a portion of it when it's going to be YouTube exclusive. All right, and I got 100 of you right now on Twitter X as well as YouTube. Please make sure you go over to YouTube app, subscribe, hit that like button, drop a comment if you're watching this on a replay. I'm so appreciative to have my man, True City fan Patrick, on the show today. Hope you enjoyed all of these topics, right? And you'll be able to catch things in the mix. Let me also shout out the last few comments here. Section goes, I think 115 hurts the fan base, then they are sorely deluded. If they think it does hurt the fan base, yeah, they misunderstand. That's rolling off our backs right now. It's old news. We actually won 3 trophies last season and 3 trophies this season. Nothing else matters. That's true. That's true. We won trophies we've never had before. Great show. Appreciate that, Blue Heart. Thank you for taking the time and dropping that comment. Yeah, excellent. Nice to see Pat as well.
Big up to you, Section. Yeah, big up to you.
Thanks to you from Blue Heart. All right, bless Vader Games, episode 105 of Why Always Me. This is the newest episode. City take action against the Premier League. The APT, the rules, unlawful. That's what they're arguing. We'll see where things net out. It'll be decided in 2 weeks, so don't have to wait very long. I'm Vader Games, True City fan, Patrick, and we're out.